Voila. Thank you. Very good. So, very good. Okay, so thank you for asking Keiretsu to be here. It was a pleasure. I'm a young angel. I joined Keiretsu like a few years ago, and I started investing very few years ago. Okay. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about angel before we get into a mini class with entrepreneurs, and I would love to help all of you for sure. Who understands what the definition of an angel investor is? Do you know the definition, the actual legal definition? Yeah, Upsana knows also. But any of the ventures actually, so I can see you. Go ahead. What do you know that an angel is?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, I think angel is usually like earlier stage investor, so they take a much like bigger risk.
Yeah.
They usually also provide a smaller investment,
Yes.
compared to venture capitals, right?
Very good, very good. And what makes you an accredited angel investor?
Okay, I think you need to get license from the government or something. I guess I'm not sure.
No, we are absolutely unlicensed.
wow.
We are free spirits. What you need to be, and I want you to be sensitive about this, okay? We are not VCs. We are not VCs. We are far from VCs. And this is important when you prepare your pitch, actually, because you will bond with the angel differently than you would bond with a VC. And by the way, we do work with VCs as Upsana, okay? So an angel has to prove that for 2-3 years, they had an income of $200,000. Okay, that's the minimum, right? Combined with a spouse, maybe I think it's 300,000, right? So that's the combined accreditation. And, or you have to have $1 million in disposable asset that is not your home, your primary home, okay? So anyone that is making over 200,000 or has a family income of 300,000 can be an angel. I didn't know. I was already an angel at age 32. That was a long time ago, okay? And no one approached me to ask to invest in startups. So my background is I'm a real entrepreneur, meaning I actually have 30 years of experience of taking European companies into North America. So I build big, large organizations and teams, manufacturing facilities and all of that stuff, right? I use technology, the best of the best. I implemented technology. I was an early adopter of social media. So I was already doing very well at 32, but no one came to us and said, oh, you can be an angel, why don't you invest in startups? So because of that, now I'm a huge ambassador. So Keiretsu focuses very much on the member side of the kind of investors that comes into our fold. We're not an accelerator, we're not an incubator. We work very closely with an incubator's accelerator, that's why I'm here, completely free to you, to help you out. And we source deals from all over the world, and I will tell you in a second how it works. So how did I find out about angel investing in Keiretsu? I was the president of the Merchant Acquisition Club in Toronto, and I had 2 guys coming at the table. So around the table, we would meet every month. We would focus on mid-cap, right? So we were really looking at, mid kind of size companies. And I had the Deloittes, and I had all the banks and the law firms. And then there were 2 fellows named Ellie and Rosanne. They were sitting at the table. So I didn't know what they were doing, and they came to me one time and they said, we are angel investors. And I go, oh, nice. And they go, well, we thank you for having us here. And I said, what the heck is an angel investor? In my mind, I was so ignorant, even though I didn't study law. I thought it was a Christian group that was invested together. So I said to Kevin, Rosanne, oh, that is so lovely. What a great idea, right? And so Rosanne and Kevin looked at me, obviously they have over 60 startups under their belt. So they're big investors, right? They've been doing it for a long time. They said, I think you should check us out. So I went to see the first meeting, and I had no idea what they were talking about. They started using words like convertible notes and safe, and we don't like safe, by the way. Equities in this and shareholder agreements. So I understood what shareholder agreements were, but I didn't understand how to help a startup. So now I'm a huge ambassador. I speak to a lot of events about please consider to become an angel. It's very, very important for early stage companies, and I really mean it. So we're trying to build a little bit this ecosystem, right? So, and especially to women, women like myself, there are, they will be very interested in joining the table. And you just need to have an opportunity to join the table. So please do ask us for help. We are there to assist, okay? So why did I join Keiretsu? Keiretsu, well, first of all, I met Kevin and Rosanna were my first angels, right? But before I actually joined, I did a little bit of homework. And because my background is a little bit international in nature, I really like the idea of this cooperation and collaboration that they have between chapters, very, very much like Thai, no? And so I said, oh, interesting. I wonder if I could do something for my own business, because I have my own company, I have my own advisory firm. So I said, maybe that's a way to get more business internationally. So I started going to more and more of these meetings, and now I'm a full angel. So I've invested in companies, and I'm planning to invest more in companies, okay? Angels have budgets. Angels absolutely are not philanthropists, okay? I want to be very clear with that concept. There are very few angels that are philanthropists. Very, very few. And usually they come from family offices, okay? They want to see exit, they want to see strategies, they want to have a success story, because whatever dollar they put, unlike a VC, is after tax. So if I invest in a company and I give you a check for 50,000, I have to make 100,000 plus in order for me to cut a check for 50,000. That's how personal that relationship is with that venture. Okay, it's not that we woke up in the morning and we go, oh yeah, today I'm going to spend $1 million, you know? No, it's not the case, okay? Most of the angels, especially in Canada, where we're a little bit more risk averse, as Stuart said, they are very conservative, and more so since 2021, since COVID actually. They tend to invest more and more into seed, okay? So when you're a little bit generating a little bit more revenue, except life science, okay? So I joined Keiretsu because it was definitely a company that was international. They were just angels. Recently they added a startup visa program. You know, we are in everywhere, and as you know, Sana said, actually, that's a very good point that she made. The reason I love working with them is we are really able to scale up any company from anywhere in Canada and vice versa. So to me, this is nothing new. The difference is now that I have equities in these companies, okay? So I never had that before, I was just an executive, right? So we are able to take Canadian companies abroad in all the chapters that we are through angels. There is no acceleration program, there is nothing else, literally, it's just strictly money, okay? And then we can also take American companies, for example, to Canada. So last week, I looked at a tech company that I'm absolutely in love with, that I might actually invest. It's called Code Valley. It's an incredible company. They will exit, I know for sure. They are disrupting the market. They will be growing very, very fast. And they are in the States, they're in California, but now they're looking at, because we did persuade them to open offices in Ontario, right? So they're not startup visa by any means, but through the angels, you know, we had this conversation. Why don't you grow this way? Because we want you to grow, we want you to do very well, right? So the stories of Canadians just going to the States, it's a true story, but also we have a lot of Canadian, US companies that are coming here because of Keiretsu, right? Another thing that I love is we are really built on syndication. What it means is I now achieved about 200 to 400 pitch deck per month that I review. Imagine, I'm an angel, right? So as a vice president, I receive through accelerators, incubators, government offices, other Keiretsu, VCs, family offices, something that we call DILUM, where if you're a venture, you should be applying to DILUM, to all these angel groups, right? So I review anywhere between 200 to 400 venture every month, right? So think about it. I have reviewed just my chapter, just Toronto, of 200 to 400 ventures. And then I'm only allowed to pick and recommend to the deal screening committee 35 every month. And only of the 35, I can only pick how many to buy? 5. So even though I fight the hell against the committee to have more people that month, we have a bit of a formula. We capped this number because we saw that the investors sort of fall asleep after the third and the fourth. So we do it for actually the ventures benefit and not for our benefit, right? So we want to make sure that they are successful. So syndication for us is very important. We are the number one angel group, number one or number two. You know, every year pitch book changes the data. We just celebrated our 10th anniversary. So yeah, we are teenagers, but not worldwide. We were founded 25 years ago by a guy named Randy William in California. He's a very, very wealthy man with a family office. And he saw during the tech bubble that all the other areas, like life science, where we're very, very famous, you know, medtech, tech, CPG, they were neglected because everything was in tech in California, right? So he saw an opportunity to look at real estate and other areas. So Keiretsu was born. Keiretsu means collaboration in Japanese, okay? He's not Japanese. We have literally invested in over, that's actually an understatement. In Canada, we spent $90 million. We invested $90 million. You know what that means for an angel? This means we have members that have to make $180 million, right? And I must add, we are working towards helping the government to understand the kind of positive impact that we have in the world. So they just increased the tax capital gain, and I don't want to get into political conversations, but imagine that of every dollar we will gain when you guys exit, they will tax me 66.7. So sometimes I go back home and I say to my husband, why am I an angel again? Because there's a lot of work and a lot of sweat and tears that goes with working with a venture, right? And we had hundreds to look at, right? So it's a very personal conversation. So last year we invested about $29 million. Right? She's our director of finance, so she knows the number better than I do. Yeah, so we had about 43 companies that we invested. Our minimum check is $25,000 in North America. So that's across every single sector. What I love though, we do have chapters like in Dubai that if I don't bring large deals, they only have a check minimum of 300,000, right? So they're a little bit more selective than us. So they want a bigger growth and faster growth, and you know. But every chapter is different, right? So we have angels that can cut a check for 100,000, for 250. Those are very few in Canada. But there are some worldwide that we tap into, even for Canadian company, even though they're sitting in India, whatever, right? That we can say, guys, we have this Canadian company that might go there. Do you have angels that can help them, right? We don't lead deals a lot. We prefer to close the rounds, frankly, but we do have companies that we have been a leading angel group in that particular company, right? So we have amazing stories in Canada. There is one that I can think of, is a biotech, Orion, right? So Brian, we raised $9 million for this guy. And not in one round, he came back to us all the way to Series B. So we saw this guy, and we're very strange angels that way. We went from seed with him, actually pre-seed, all the way to B. So that's the power of our angels, right? So I'm very proud of our group. We had a startup visa summit last year. Some of you might have actually joined us that day. And this is mostly our group. We brought in Canada about, we sponsor, right? 144 companies. What it means is we brought startup visa angel funded, right? So I don't look after this area, so I don't know as much as Tuba, but so we're quite active. But now with the immigration you know law reforms, you know, and the elections coming up, you know, this is an area where it's quite a challenge because the immigration process is taking much longer than required, really, in my opinion. In any case, so we have a ton of benefits, you know, but I don't want to bother you. So we put a lot of emphasis in the last 2 years. I put a lot of emphasis on females, okay? So we have amazing groups in Canada. I can think of actually two, you know, Movement 51, if you know them, as well as the Firehood, that focus on investing in women venture. Okay, they are doing a great job. Okay, we focus on female angels. We want more women to invest. So we created a whole series of speaking engagements, and so we actually have one coming up. All of you can join online, so that we are going to actually explore deal structure, the term sheets. Okay, and I will tell you more about it in a second. Now I am going to do a little mini class, if you're with me. So if you're a venture, okay, I'd like you to stand up if you want, and you tell me in a few minutes, pitch to me, okay? Pitch to me, and tell me about the problem that you identified, not the solution, just the problem. So if you want, you can stand up, or I can continue to go through this. You want to have an opportunity? You ready? No? Not comfortable? Go ahead. So tell me a problem that you have identified.
Okay, so I'm actually in the childcare sector as a first-time founder. So I'll take a few problems so far. Allude to, for example, minimal technology. So that's one problem. Second problem is directly related to our product offering, so which is the need for multiple strollers and hardware devices for parents to pretty much, I'll say, integrate their babies into their lifestyle. And then the final would be the cost aspect. So
you identify childcare cost and the ability to have the actual item?
yeah, so the
Okay.
so typically child caregivers or even parents, they need multiple hardware devices, child caregivers, strollers to fully integrate just one baby into their everyday lifestyle.
Okay.
So that's one challenge. And then there's a cost associated with that as well.
Awesome.
We have to find out.
Okay, so let's use that example, right? So usually this is our process, okay? You come to Keiretsu, and it's very much member participation, okay? So this is our process. We understand the deal, we get the deal via email, through a pitch or whatever, okay? It could be this one that you just mentioned, okay? And then I review the pitch deck, right? And 99% of the time, even with the university incubators that we actually mentor or sponsor, like IB or whatever, there are a lot of elements and there's a lot of structure missing, okay? So there are demo days and there are pitch days. I'm talking about pitch day now. I'm not talking about demo day, okay? So this is the real time where you are asking for resources such as cash, okay? So you have a problem that you identify, right? And then theoretically you would have about 10-15 minutes to do this entire pitch. This is what you have, okay? You have to convince the group of the angels, which are keeping their money very dear to them, right? And they only have a budget per year to invest in X amount of dollars for X amount of companies, right? So this is the sort of pitch that you want to have. So if we take the problem, what's your name?
Philip.
Philip, beautiful. So if you take Philip's problem, right, then Philip will follow with a solution. And what I want to see is a chart that says, how's your solution comparing to others, right? And it sounds banal, and probably they're teaching you this here, but actually it's very important. Because when you speak to international groups like Thai or like Keiretsu, we have access to deals worldwide. So we have PhD doctors that come to us and say, we are the only one with this peptide. And I'm actually able to say, sir, I'm sorry, or madam, that is not the case. I've seen this solution before. And so Keiretsu is very good at matching that doctor with that hospital. It's incredible what we're able to do. Okay, so be very sure that your solution is unique, and like we said just now, make sure that people understand your differentiation, right? We just had a conversation with you actually. You know, that people understand how are you different for the rest of the market? And then are you comparing yourself only in Canada? Or are you, now that you are all over the world, like you are, for example, right? You need to bring to that chart every other competitor everywhere in the world. That's only fair, right? So that is very, very important for us to know. The IP for an investor is almost like a lifeboat. So we always ask about the IP. That's why you got those questions today. Sometimes it's not worth it if you have something that's very exclusive that you don't want to go through this legal process of disclosing your algorithm or something particular, okay? The good news in Ontario, we have grants for IP. So I do urge you, if you don't know about it, do inquire. You can actually have free legal assistance up to $35,000 if I'm not wrong with Invest Ontario. And there is another one that I'm aware of. But do make that research a little bit, right? Very important that you look at what you can protect. Trademark, your domain, right? You will not believe how this is so important. I actually rejected companies that wanted to scale up through Keiretsu and they didn't have an IP, not even pending. So I said, no way, no way I'm going to introduce you to our chapters in Europe, no way. First, look at your legal, right? Protect yourself, protect your shareholders. Then we will talk and bring you to UK, right? So IP is super important, geography is very important. Also, it does increase your valuation, both at exit times and during the race, either if you go from C to all the way to B. We talked about the team description and any board advisor, very important who is in the team. I had a guy that pitched to me and said that he had a very, he showed me, he had a very famous person on his board of advisory. So this company was a fintech, and the guy on the board of advisory was a physicist. So I asked, I know that guy, he's very important. Why do you have an astronaut physicist on your board of advisor? Well, he's very famous. That was the answer. How is that relevant to your startup? Right? So of course, needless to say, we did advise him to go back and create a true board of advisory, right? So it's not just somebody that you can say their credential and say, oh, great. No, they have to be relevant to your business, right? So this is very important. There is so much to say about the go-to-market strategy, super important. Tell me how you're going to go to market. Tell me how to go to market. And don't be fixated on your solution. Actually, just last week, somebody sent me a book that I'm reading. It's called Fall in Love with the Problem, Not the Solution. I found this brilliant, right? So it's very, very easy to read. This is my copy, so I can't share. But it's so important that you stay flexible as you go into the market strategy. I've done this. I scale up a lot of corporations, so I know the pain that you go through. It's important to have the right team. I had a company that we invested where the CEO walked away during a fundraising. So guess what? All the investors were very, very scared. So we had to help them to find a new CEO. But as you grow and scale, we talked about this actually. Upsana said fantastically, the stress that you do when you scale. But let us know how you're going to do that, right? As an intro, I want to know how you're going to do that and why you want to do it. Why don't you want to sell your company while you're still in Canada? You don't have to show me that you go to US or UK in order to scale up. You can tell me that you want to dominate the market in Canada. And you might have a buyer by then, so you don't have to scale up geographically, that's what I'm trying to say. So don't stress about the markets outside Canada. Focus on producing revenue. Angels love that, as much as VC, of course. Do show us a 3 years forecast. For me, this is very important. So the pitch that we had before, very important you show us how you got to those numbers, right? How much are you raising at the deal terms? We do not like safe. Long story, we actually have a session on October 29 on why we don't like that. Those deal terms, the shareholder agreements are very important. So I give you one tiny story. I was just about to cut a check in a med tech, okay? I love this company. I love the guys. They're doing very well in Canada. So I asked my lawyer to look again at the shareholder agreement. And she emailed me back saying, Daniela, did you see that clause there about if you die, the shares will go back to the company, not to your son? And I go, what? So my will is all to my son, right? And so all the startups I'm investing into, I'm actually giving it to my son, right? And so this company had in the shareholder agreement that if something happened before a liquidity event, the shares will go back to the company. So when you create a term sheet and a deal structure, I beg you, do make it very investor friendly. Because the true angels, we go and do the due diligence, and now I'm going to reverse this table. All of this is going to be checked for truthfulness, right? So you can declare what you want, but then we're going to actually do the homework, right? And Keiretsu is equal to none. Our due diligence is incredible. So this is a sort of thing. So I don't want to scare investors. I want to say, do check what you have. So I went back to that company and I said, Chris, I was about to cut a check, but can we look at this clause? And the guy said, Daniela, I didn't even know that I had it. Because the lawyer sold him a package and he didn't make the time to understand what he was offering. So he was hurting his ability to raise capital, right? Don't do that to angels, right? Because we have the highest risk of anyone with our own capitals, right? So this is very, very important. And then of course, we would like to know how you will deploy the capital. The last is the exit strategy. I had a guy that said to us, what do you mean exit strategy? Well, we only monetize our investments when you will exit. Do I have to exit? Well, yes, if you want to have investors in your company, you will have to have an exit. Oh, but I was not planning to exit. Well, then you shouldn't raise capital with angels. So this is sort of the kind of questions that we come across and say, why do you need an exit? Well, because that's how we make the money, right? 70% of ventures fail. So when we invest, we make actually a financial calculation on how much we invested based on the losses that we know we are going to receive. Okay, and we do not invest in companies that their exit strategy is more than 10 years. The sweet spot right now is between 2 years and 4 years, like a VC, Okay, but angels are a little bit more patient than VC because this is our money, this is our capital, right? And it's a very emotional psychological attachment, which brings me to the last point, and then I run out of time. Voila. When you make your pitch, you have the stage, you have the attention of the people, right? The investors. Always ask something else, not just capital. You are standing here, and you say in your pitch, I'm looking for resources, which is cash, and I'm also looking for help. And I'm looking for a new CFO, and I'm looking at connection with Sick Children Hospital, and I'm looking for a VC that is going to help us, right? So do not lose that opportunity to say what you're asking, because that's what angels are about. They are connectors, right? So it's a great journey. In Canada, we're so lucky. There are so many groups. We all belong to the AIO, which is the Ontario Association, and we all belong to NACO, which is a National Canadian Association, so we actually regulate it. And I do hope that all of you will succeed, and I'm sure you will. And if your company fails, keep going. There will be an idea there that will succeed, right? So do not there is so much to say about the go-to-market strategy. Super important. Tell me how you're going to go to market. Tell me how to go to market. And don't be fixated on your solution. Actually, just last week, somebody sent me a book that I'm reading. It's called Fall in Love with the Problem, Not the Solution. I found this brilliant, right? So it's very, very easy to read. You know, this is my copy, so I can't share. But it's so important that you stay flexible as you go into the market strategy. I've done this. I scale up a lot of corporations. So I know the pain that you go through. It's important to have the right team. I had a company that we invested with, the CEO walked away doing a fundraising. So guess what? All the investors were very, very scared. So we had to help them to find a new CEO. So you don't have to scale up geographically, that's what I'm trying to say. So don't stress about the markets outside Canada. Focus on producing revenue. Angels will love that, as much as VC, of course. Do show us a 3 years forecast. For me, this is very important. So the pitch that we had before, you know, very important. You show us how you got to those numbers, right? How much are you raising in the deal terms? We do not like safe. Long story. We actually have a session on October 29 on why we don't like that. Here's we'll go back to the company, not to your son. And I go, what? So my will is all to my son, right? So all the startups I'm investing into, I'm actually giving